we're not supposed to talk. We are not supposed to be in this room together. But I think through the initiative of a lot of the people that Pat has spoken about, and Pat herself, we're able to be breaking new ground here today. I'm so proud to be in front of you and to speak to you a little about what I might be able to bring to you and what you might be able to bring to me. You see, I think we're facing a common set of challenges, both in the corporate world, in academia, and in the world at large. And these challenges are national but also global. They're challenges that might be broadly figured under the context of diversity. How do we talk about difficult issues of difference when they are potentially explosive, when a necessary political correctness or even politeness dominates our companies, our schools, everywhere around us? How do we have these conversations? Number two, how do we expand the terms of diversity to include things like diversity of thought, to include things like religious denominations? How do we expand toward these without losing sight of the reasons that we develop these diversity programs in the first place? Gender, race. Expand without leaving behind. And then finally, how do we do all of this at a moment in which we're living in a global society that's at once more integrated but more divided than ever? These are the questions that I'm thinking about in my work. These are the questions that I think about through the lens of hip-hop, a kind of global culture, global youth culture, a lingua franca that takes us from Cairo to Chicago and back. These are also questions I believe you are grappling with. In fact, I would go as far as to say that you are on the front lines of addressing these issues. Sociologists tell us that the United States today is more segregated than ever when it comes to the way we worship, the places we live, even the schools that we attend. But where do we come together? Where does the diversity exist? It exists in our workplace. So the workplace, in my mind, is the miner's canary for a new global society. You will confront the challenges first, and I hope to God you'll find the solutions first. I want to help in this. Why do I want to help? Why do I care? I got my cushy little tenured faculty gig in Colorado, Boulder, Colorado, living in Happy Valley of sorts of the mind, my ivory tower. Why do I care? Because I teach your employees, because I care about your audiences, the people who will consume your products, who will be part of the marketing that you do. I study these phenomena. And also, because I want to live in a society where we don't let talent go untapped. That's our point of contact as I understand it. And so today, I want to exchange with you some ideas that have come out of my work with the idea that we can open a line of communication, a reciprocal one, that can help build upon our collective goals. I want to talk to you about hip-hop. Now, when I say that term, a lot of things come to mind, a lot of negative associations. Hip-hop is sexism, misogyny, homophobia. It's racism, explicit language, violence of all sorts. And it is all of these. But so is America. So is the world. And like America, like the world, hip-hop is so much more. It's a rich culture, a grassroots culture that emerged from a moment of crisis in America's urban centers. South Bronx in the 1970s, a land that the government had forgotten. Out of this comes a culture of dance, of the voice, of sound, of body. And so the hip-hop I want to talk to you about is not the one that you already know. And corporations have been so brilliant at utilizing hip hop for its cool. We have Common in a Gap ad. We have him selling Gatorade. We have hip hop as a kind of conduit to cool. But what I want to talk about is hip hop from the inside, what I'll call the real hip hop. The hip hop culture that's far from the spotlight, because I think there are lessons within that culture that can speak to your constituencies, to your associates. You see, that hip hop culture is multi-generational, multi-ethnic, multiracial, multi-talented. This is a culture that is a necessary one that was born out of difficult circumstances and emerged to be a dominant global force. So in other words, it includes people very much like you, like the people whom you work with, the people whom you look to as your base. And that's why I think we have a way to build from hip hop to the corporate world. So I want to offer 3 insights, 3 hip hop values, if you will, that I hope you might be able to take with you into the great work that you do. Some will be new, maybe some will not, but I hope they will at least remix some of your thought on things that you're already working on. All right, the first one, and it's a word a phrase that many of you will know. It's kind of an old phrase in hip hop. Keep it real. Keep it real. Now, if you say it to your granddaughter, you're going to sound corny, because she's already on to the next phrase that they don't even know about. But there's an enduring value. There's an enduring value in this idea of keep it real that is with us today, and that's the idea of authenticity. How to be authentic within a culture, within a corporation. For MCs, keeping it real is about keeping it real with the music, with your audience, and with yourself. For CDOs, perhaps it's keeping it real with the mission of diversity, keeping it real with your associates and management, and keeping it real with yourself, knowing the limitations of your role as well as the possibilities within it. Sometimes, too, it's easy to talk about these things, but hard to implement. How do you keep it real in a real sense? How do you do more than lip service to this idea? I think hip-hop has an answer for that as well, at least the beginnings of one. The realest rapper I've ever met is Chuck D of Public Enemy. He said things in his lyrics that made a lot of people mad, but also expressed a grain of truth, at least to a particular community from which he was expressing it. Elvis was a hero to most, but he never meant to me. That's right. We know it. So Chuck D, and he had this concept. He said, hip-hop is black people's CNN. And by that he meant it was the CNN of the street, of the communities that otherwise did not have a voice. It was a way to broadcast their beliefs. Now bring that back to us. I think for CDOs, the goal must be to be a CNN for the unheard voices in your companies, to broadcast the truths expressed in affinity groups and other networks without compromising the individuals within it who maybe already feel too exposed, who may be worried about how that might affect their own professional development. Corporations, I know enough about corporations to know that they're risk-averse environments. So I'm not sure Chuck D would necessarily play too well as a junior associate. So that puts the onus on the structure to allow for some sort of expression of those ideas where the individual might not be able to do it. So that's part one. Number two, another hip-hop phrase that you may know that is also a little bit tired, but still has a kind of underlying truth. Know what I'm saying? Nah, I mean. You know, a lot of people don't know what hip-hop is saying. In fact, powerful people from the very beginning of hip-hop have assumed and assigned meanings to hip-hop. The aforementioned CNN, not Chuck D's, but the real one, I did a special several years ago that said simply, hip-hop, art, or poison, as if it was a simple, definite distinction between one or the other. Well, the reality is obviously more complex. I learned this firsthand in the spring when I was in the midst of working with Common on his memoir. Got an invitation to the White House to read poetry to children about the least controversial thing that you can imagine. But somehow, some of the talking heads on our cable networks started saying, well, Common is a vile rapper, a gangster rapper. They forgot that he was on Sesame Street rapping with Elmo. They forgot that he was flexing his biceps on a poster with Queen Latifah. They forgot that this man has a reputation within hip-hop as a conscious artist par excellence. Misreading the circumstances, not knowing what hip-hop means. I want to give you another example, really bring it to light here, and I'm going to ask my DJ to help me out. You know, I edited this thing called the Anthology of Rap. It includes hundreds and hundreds of lyrics from across hip-hop's lifespan. And the most difficult thing I had to do was to transcribe those lyrics, to know what the artist is saying. And I figured I have all these bright people in this room with me today, and I have a couple lyrics that I haven't quite figured out. So I'm gonna ask you just to listen closely. I'm gonna play you a 5-second clip, maybe a couple times. And I want you to jot down what you think this artist is saying. This is LL Cool J, a little bit old school. I'm that type of guy. So DJ, please hit it.
You're the type of guy that likes to drink old English. I'm the type of guy to cold put on a pamper.
Run that again.
You're the type of guy that likes to drink old English. I'm the type of guy to cold put on a pamper.
All right, what was he saying? Anybody want to give it a shot?
Can you repeat what you said?
One more time.
I'm sorry.
Mr. DJ.
You're the type of guy that likes to drink old English. I'm the type of guy to cold put on a pamper.
Any thoughts? Well, there we go. So we're building it, and I don't think he likes the old English that I had to study at Harvard. The Beowulf and this and that. A little bit different. So we got that. You're the type of guy who likes to drink old English. I'm the type of guy to something. You know what we ended up putting, and this will sound insane to you. We said to cold, put on a pamper. Like a diaper. I didn't know what he was saying. I said, well, that sounds freaky. He's a pretty, freaky guy, so maybe that's it. Know what I'm saying? I didn't know what the heck he was saying. But I tried. I reached out. I tried to understand. And that's too often what we don't do, both in hip-hop and in the workplace, because people are speaking often very different languages. Maybe it's all under the rubric of English, but words have different weights. Words have different meaning. I want to give you one more quick example, just to really test you. Mr. DJ?
We innovate to generate an intricately interwoven tapestry, your musical and ethical epiphany. The industry's minimal amount of muscle, listen with the anchor that can take it all away. The way the sun is like a running left, a running sun, a tunnel through a simple symbol, a simple sentiment, adrenaline is coming back. I'm in a minute city with a die to be a superstar. I'd rather be a galaxy, but how you see it so dependent on the medicine and rhetoric and how any second you're thinking is just sitting at the brink.
Now, I want you to go out and buy the Anthology of Rap because I transcribed that darn thing. I slowed it down, chopped it up, and we know what that boy is saying. But that's part of the work, and I do that is partly just to kind of put in virtual, in really clear terms the concept. But the concept is this: it's about listening. It's about the importance of listening in all contexts and listening through our assumptions, past our assumptions. KRS-One, another hip-hop godfather, said the following about the birth of hip-hop. He said that hip-hop was a final conclusion of a generation of creative people oppressed with the reality of lack. The final conclusion of a generation of creative people oppressed with the reality of lack. Now, the circumstances may not be as stark at McDonald's, but nonetheless, we have people coming into corporate America with different equipment, who speak a different language, who may not have the clear understanding of the means to success within the corporate structure. And so at least one of your goals in my mind as an outsider is to be a kind of intermediary to understand coded speech from both sides, to find a way to connect these ideas, to understand there are moments of razor-sharp clarity, there's moments of conscious incomprehensibility, as we heard in that last lyric example, and there are moments in which people are saying something that you understand on a literal level, but don't understand what's behind it. We have a term for this in hip hop, it's called building. I'm gonna build, it's to converse, but it has such a beautiful sentiment behind it because it suggests that there's something that we can add to one another to find our way to a new height. Finally, the last concept I want to talk about is the concept of the battle. Now, I do not expect you to hold impromptu rap battle sessions a la Eminem and 8 Mile in the break room. But I do think that there's, again, at the grassroots level of this idea, there is a principle at stake that's essential. And it's the idea of finding comfort in discomfort. Safe places, creating safe places to achieve discussions about controversial and even unsafe things. This is the idea of the battle. Now, there's a flip side to the actual rap battle, and for those of you who haven't ever seen how this goes down, it's about two people, often with an audience circled around, exchanging lyrical broadsides, often insults, disses. Exchanging it, and the victor is not the one who gets mad and punches the other guy in the face. It's not by any means that. It's the person who keeps his or her cool. It's the person who finds a way to win through language alone. It's an essential idea. There's a flip side to the battle, though, and it's called the cipher. And here's how I define the cipher. It's a competitive and collaborative space created with MCs gathered to exchange verses, either in freestyle battles or in collaborative lyrical brainstorming sessions. Now, that idea of competition and collaboration seems to me perfect for the context in which you all work. Look to new structures. Create these safe structures for competition and collaboration where the two can coexist. Create these ciphers. You know, that to me is maybe the greatest insight that hip hop has. Because on the surface it often looks threatening, it often sounds threatening, the beat, incessant, aggressive, but at the heart of it is a beautiful culture. It's a culture founded upon connection, identity, shared experience. And this is the last insight that I'll leave you with. Hip hop is leading the way to a new global youth culture. It's the melting pot remixed, what one might call the new mental melting pot, in which we still have the old concepts of gender, race, nationality, but we're also moving toward a commonality of experience, taste, value that come together to shape a worldview. Hip-hop is the litmus test for where the culture is going, and it's also something that tells us about the future of your employees. And so as you know, I asked you, I set the challenge for you to be the leaders in helping us solve these questions of diversity. And I don't ask that thinking that it's going to be an act of altruism. I really think it's in the interests of companies to identify talent that may take a different shape. It's in the interest of companies to anticipate what your workforce will look like in 10 years, in 20 years. And believe me, I'm teaching them now, and they're a mess, but they're a brilliant mess. And that's going to be the exciting thing, understanding the new mental melting pot, and the best way to do that is through hip hop. And my time is up, so I'm going to stop right there and ask you to put on my little musical interlude and jot some notes. Thank you so much for this opportunity.